All right, let's get caught up about a number of goings on in the American political world. Hillary Clinton is never running for president again. This is what she is now saying. And this is interesting because there has been increasing speculation, not only from some on the left who are skeptical of the establishment Democratic Party, but also for many on the right who seem convinced that at some point Hillary Clinton will return and 2024 will be a rematch between Trump and Clinton. Hillary Clinton is now very directly saying she is not running for president again. She was interviewed by Norah O'Donnell. She was asked the question directly. And then maybe more interestingly, she was asked, well, then what about if Trump runs in 2024? Let's take a look at this. This is pretty interesting.
Hillary Clinton is on a new campaign of sorts with her daughter Chelsea for a new Apple TV Plus docuseries highlighting extraordinary women. It's called Gutsy. We sat down exclusively with the former secretary and asked her what's next. Would you ever run for president again?
No, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we have a president who respects our democracy and the rule of law and upholds our institutions.
What if Donald Trump runs again?
He should be soundly defeated. It should start in the Republican Party. Grow a backbone. Stand up to this guy. And heaven forbid, if he gets the nomination, he needs to be defeated roundly and sent back to Mar-a-Lago.
The Florida mansion now in the spotlight after an FBI...
Okay. So she's being very clear here. She's not running for president again. Now, those who are committed to the idea of some conspiracy to install Hillary Clinton or whatever, they will say that she still might run. But I believe her. It seems very clear that she isn't running. And I think that this is correct. I don't think that she should run again. She would have been a better president than Trump. I voted for her, but I believe that the window has passed. And I think it's the same thing with Bernie Sanders, quite frankly, even though I know there are many in my audience who don't like it when I say that. And when I say this, I am not speaking, I want to remind everybody, one of the ways in which I hope the left is different from the right is that we don't deify candidates. Trump often will say, I don't know that Joe Biden has anybody running around with a Biden hat or a Biden shirt or whatever. Yeah, because on the left, my desire is that we see elected officials just as people with whom we hopefully agree on more than we disagree, and we vote for them and then we move on with our lives. In other words, the right has these cults of personality. Sometimes the left does too. And sometimes when I say I think Bernie's time has passed, people will get very angry with me because they see Bernie almost as a sort of deity. I voted for Bernie in the primary and Hillary ended up being the nominee. I voted for Hillary in the general, but she lost. I would vote for either of them over Trump or DeSantis or whoever. But I think both of them, despite me voting for them, are now beyond running for president. And I mean, listen, maybe Hillary should run for special master and could review those documents. No, I'm kidding. But I believe this is the right decision. I believe it is really, it's been said for a while now, really since Obama, I guess, so a while, 6 years. It's been said for a period of time now that overall the Democratic Party needs to look younger in its ranks for presidential candidates. I think that Hillary recognizes that. I think Bernie recognizes it as well. I don't think either is going to run for the Democratic nomination in 2024. And there really are lots of good people around. And I've talked about many of them. And I would like to see some other new people run. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. In the meantime, we continue to see Joe Biden's approval rating go up. And Republicans are furious. Many of them are leaving me voicemails, which I'm not going to play because they're just very lame. But Republicans are now saying Biden is as unpopular as ever, when, of course, the truth is Joe Biden has seen one of the most rapid increases in approval rating of any president in recent years. Now, he's still only at about 43%. And it's sort of a glass half full, glass half empty sort of thing. You can say, well, 43% means 57% still disapprove. But you can also look at the last several presidencies and realize that actually 43%, it's no incredible victory, but it's pretty average in terms of where many presidents tend to be during their presidencies. So taking a look at the numbers now on the screen, you see that Joe Biden had this sort of bottom out at 37.5%. Now, remember, 538 is looking at an average of approval polls. So it's based on more than one poll. These are averages. The approval bottomed out at 37.5% in the second half of July, and it's been a basically direct increase now to about 43%. So that's roughly an increase of 15% in Joe Biden's approval rating. And I have to tell you, it sort of makes sense in that lots of good things have taken place, many of them associated with Joe Biden. There's this it's almost quaint sounding that a president does a bunch of stuff people like, and then their approval rating goes up, because we're so used to this highly partisan, almost weaponized approval rating situation where approval is more related to propaganda rather than accomplishments. But we now have 2 jobs reports in a row that are better than expectations under the Biden administration. We have inflation down last month. We are days away from the next inflation number, and my expectation is that it's going to be down again. Significant legislative accomplishments, infrastructure, the PACT Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, student loan forgiveness, which is very popular with Americans, and it's reflected now in the approval rating, and there's other things as well. Gas prices also are continuing to experience one of the most sustained and rapid declines in a very, very long time. And average gas prices peaked at $5.02 in mid-June, and it has been decline, initially very rapid, then a little bit less rapid, but continuing down. Gas prices are now down to $3.73 from $5.02 a gallon. That is a 25-ish percent, 26% decline. That is more than a quarter chopped off of gas prices. Everybody's gas bill down by a quarter. This is a big, big deal. I don't even claim it has anything to do with Joe Biden. I didn't believe Biden was responsible for the gas prices going up, and I don't believe Joe Biden is responsible for the gas prices going down, aside from a few cents a gallon because of tapping the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But I'm consistent. I don't play the gas price games with presidents. But we know that that's something many people do look at when answering the question, do you approve of the job that the president is doing? So we'll have new inflation data next week. I expect that it will be, again, a decline in inflation, and Joe Biden's approval rating reflecting what is overall a pretty damn good economy by all standard metrics. And now the question becomes, what does it do to Democratic chances in the fall? And the numbers continue to improve a little bit at a time. We will delve into those numbers in more detail tomorrow. We are now asking a question that a year ago I would not have been asking. And that question is, has CNN decided to become Fox News? What? David, what are you talking about? Sir, please explain. Well, this all started as a result of the new CEO of CNN. Or president, I guess they call him. Chris Licht has been selected as the next president of CNN. We learned this in February of 2022. And immediately after this was the case, and we learned about this, we started to learn about Chris Licht. We learned that he created Morning Joe. He revamped CBS This Morning. He revitalized, this is CNN's own words, he revitalized The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And he was selected back in February to take control of CNN. One of the statements, one of the big headlines very quickly became, CNN management is intent on changing perception of the network. That's from ABC News just a few days ago, or a couple weeks ago. And as we have started to see a number of resignations from CNN, Licht reportedly told CNN staffers, don't call the big lie anymore, saying that sounds like a Democratic slogan. So Trump's attempt to steal the election that he didn't win, don't call it the big lie anymore. And we have started to see some walkouts from some relatively high-profile correspondents at CNN. John Harwood, Brian Stelter, Jeffrey Toobin. John Cooper tweeted, "I decided to boycott CNN as soon as the network began its shift to the right. It was a tough decision since I've been a devout CNN viewer since I was in my 20s. If I wanted to watch right-wing propaganda, I'd watch Fox. So for now, it's only MSNBC for me." CNN anchor Breonna Keeler took some heat when she tweeted after Joe Biden's Thursday speech last week, which we covered, quote, "Whatever you think of this speech, the military is supposed to be apolitical. Positioning Marines in uniform behind President Biden for a political speech flies in the face of that. It's wrong when Democrats do it. It's wrong when Republicans do it. Well, Trump did it too. Presidents do it, and you don't always hear the same criticism. In fact, here's a picture of Trump from 2019 doing the exact same thing. Now, okay, Breonna Keeler says she's against it in all cases, but they didn't really talk about it that I was able to find in 2019. So this was another little data point in some of our viewers and others saying there just is a shift in feel about what's going on at CNN. Recently, CNN also made the decision to hire a guy named John Miller. John Miller, top Intel official, award-winning journalist, and best-selling author, writes CNN. Added to the network's roster of expert analysts, added as a chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst. Well, Miller is a guy who lied under oath about NYPD policy of surveilling Muslims in the post 9/11 era. It's kind of absurd to say we are hiring this guy as a law enforcement analyst. So a number of different red flags, increasingly raising questions about what is happening here at CNN. And I want to remind people of the most important aspect to all of this. You know, for so long, there's these phrases that people just repeat. Fox is left and CNN and MSNBC are on the right. And as I've reminded people many times before, Fox is on the right. I'm sorry. Did I say that backwards? Fox is on the right. CNN and MSNBC are on the left. I'm now thinking I might have gotten that wrong before. What I meant to say, in case I didn't, is Fox is on the right. CNN, MSNBC are on the left. And as I've said before, Fox is on the right in a completely unhinged propagandistic way. MSNBC editorially has taken a center left perspective. It's a Democratic Party perspective. It's not progressive. And CNN plays it closer to the middle while certainly having an anti-Trump bias. I think that's perfectly fine. But fundamentally, these are all corporate media outlets with profit as their primary goal. And that should then not surprise us when a change in leadership at CNN potentially signals a significant editorial shift as well. Because these organizations fundamentally are there to make money. That's what they're there for. And, you know, we've been accused of the same.
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money. Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
But of course, that's really kind of a joke, right? I mean, we're funded directly by our audience because we are a progressive show. These corporate media outlets are much more similar than they are different, even if the type of propaganda you see is not the same. So at the end of the day, it's not a major shock that if CNN perceives it can make more money by having higher ratings, by making this shift in the direction of the right, that they would do it. We'll see in the next few months, and particularly in their coverage of the 2022 midterms, how it all shakes out. Remember, on September 19th, we are doing a massive membership discount. If you'd like to be notified about this discount, just get on my newsletter at davidpakman.com. One of our sponsors today is Ketoned. We all have heard about the ketogenic diet, which puts your body in a metabolic state of ketosis. Many have reported that it's helpful for curbing hunger or even weight loss. Ketoned is the top-rated ketone supplement on the market. It allows you to enjoy the benefits without dramatically restricting your carbs. And if you already follow a ketogenic diet, Ketoned is a great way to instantly boost your ketone levels. Their formula works in under 20 minutes. Take ketoned advanced blend and then test your ketone levels and see for yourself. Comes in delicious flavors like Aloha Punch, Tiger's Blood, Citrus Mango Peach, and Caramel Macchiato or Caramel Macchiato or Caramel Macchiato. Ketoned has helped millions of people on their keto journey since 2016. Read online what Ketoned customers have to say. And Ketoned is giving my audience 30% off plus 2 free bottles of Keto Charged when you go to ketoned.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman at checkout. We have now learned that indeed failed former President Donald Trump had documents with nuclear secrets on them at his house at Mar-a-Lago. And the immediate question becomes, what the hell was he planning to do with those? Was he planning to sell them? Did he sell them? And of course, all sorts of speculation running rampant. So let's go back and start at the top. It was speculated that there might have been documents relating to nuclear capabilities at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, part of the search warrant served by the FBI at his home. We now have gotten confirmation of that from the Washington Post's Devlin Barrett and Carol Lenig. A document describing a foreign government's military defenses, including nuclear capabilities, was found by FBI agents who searched former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and private club last month, according to people familiar with the matter, underscoring concerns among U.S. intelligence officials about classified materials stashed in the Florida property. Some of the seized documents detail top secret U.S. operations so closely guarded that many senior national security officials are kept in the dark about them. Only the president, some members of his cabinet, or a near cabinet level official could authorize other government officials to know details of these special access programs. Documents about such highly classified operations require special clearances on a need-to-know basis, not just a top secret clearance. Some special access programs can have as few as a couple dozen government personnel authorized to know about the operation's existence. Records that deal with such programs are kept under lock and key, almost always in a secure, compartmented information facility with a designated control officer to keep careful tabs on their location. These documents sometimes require the constant surveillance of the documents to know exactly where they are at all times. And Trump had them at his house. This is getting worse every single day. Now, the timing of this release, I believe, and many do as well, I'm not unique in this belief, I didn't come up with this, that the timing is related to the appointment of a special master to oversee the documents that even Trump's own former Attorney General William Barr thinks is inappropriate and is a decision that will ultimately be reversed. And I do believe the timing is in order to counteract that and to sort of say, all right, well, you figured out a way to delay things, but more and more information is going to come out. Now, why would Trump, who has a lot of debt, relied on a lot of foreign money to become president, why would Trump keep documents about the nuclear capabilities of other countries at his house? Do you think Trump is aware that many adversaries of the United States would be willing to pay for those documents? Is Trump aware that many adversaries of the United States would love to try to steal certain documents? Do we still believe that there is a perfectly innocent explanation for this? I don't. And I'm starting to think maybe it's not true that Trump wanted these documents so that he could write his memoirs or so that they could be in his presidential library, which by all accounts he doesn't even care about. Now, here is Trump's lawyer, one of Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba, just yesterday mocking the idea that the stolen documents included nuclear secrets. This was yesterday.
I saw this meme that was very funny on Instagram, I believe it was, and it said it's amazing. At first, it was the codes to the nuclear weapons. Right. Now it's invisible classified documents.
So she's mocking the idea that there were nuclear related documents there. And yet there are. You really have to wonder, what else has Trump done over the last 4, 5, 6 years that we haven't even learned about yet. And as I've said before, I believed it would take years to learn the full scope of what he did. And it's taking years. It's taking years. And this is all, there's a couple different possibilities here, as I said, about the timing. One possibility is this is the intel community fighting back or signaling back about the special master decision, saying, you can put in place a special master, but we can keep releasing more and more every day about the damaging reality of what Donald Trump did. The other possibility here is that the special master, obviously the intent of that by Trump is to just slow down what's going on, maybe particularly in the context of the midterms. And the intel community here is saying, we can accelerate the release of this information. Now, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but this is potentially treasonous, what Donald Trump has done. If you look at a couple of different statutes, 18 U.S. Code subsection 794 is called gathering or delivering defense information to aid foreign government. Okay, we're talking about crimes there. And Google the statute and read it for yourself. It's quite lengthy. Another possibility, 18 U.S. Code 793, gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, also a crime. This is extraordinarily serious. And of course, listen, at every step, we knew it was serious. When we learned about the investigations, we knew it was serious. When the FBI decided to do the raid, we knew it was serious. When Trump and his cronies started throwing absurd, conflicting explanations at the wall to see what sticks, we knew it was very serious. And now that this has been found, we know it is even more serious. And unfortunately for Trump, his lawyers are rapidly deteriorating when confronted about these issues. So let's now review some of these clips of Trump lawyer Alina Habba asked about the documents and the empty folders marked top secret and all of it. So as a reminder, one of the things we learned last week was that among the documents recovered by the FBI from Trump's house, there were also empty folders marked top secret. Now, obviously, if you see an empty folder marked top secret, you say, well, where's the document that was in it? It's extraordinarily unlikely that Donald Trump took empty folders. So there's probably more documents somewhere. Trump attorney Alina Habba was asked about this, and she started joking about memes and invisible documents. Check this out.
Yeah, obviously. And then the other thing, too, that we can't get past is that these envelopes, most of them were empty. What does that tell
I saw
us?
this meme. I don't know. I saw this meme that was very funny on Instagram, I believe it was. And
notice that she says, I don't know what it means, and quickly switches to talking about memes.
That it's amazing. At first, it was the codes to the nuclear weapons. Right. Now it's invisible classified documents. It could mean anything. I don't know. It could mean that they gave those documents to NARA and to the FBI prior, as we know, which they had done.
Now, think about that. This is the best. Now she gives explanations that make no sense. Her first claim is maybe the top secret folders were empty because Trump returned the documents. You're saying he would return the documents and not the folder? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So that one's not believable.
It could mean there was nothing in them.
There was nothing in them. So there was nothing in them also doesn't make sense because Trump's legal team and Trump himself have insisted that the documents, there were documents, that they shouldn't be able to be reviewed as evidence by the Department of Justice. So if there were no documents, why would Trump be arguing that the documents shouldn't be reviewed by the FBI? If there were no documents, he would say there were no documents.
It could mean they're invisible if you're, in their administration. I truly don't know.
Okay, there might be invisible documents. So as always, the explanations contradict. Maybe there were never any documents in there. Then why did Trump's legal team build a defense based on the fact that there were documents there? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe he returned the documents, but he kept the folders. That doesn't make any sense either. It only creates more questions. And by the way, just a really funny extra note from this interview. she did try to pivot to Hunter Biden. It's beyond parody at this point, but she tried.
Meanwhile, we have Hunter Biden, who has, the laptop from hell. Nothing's happening there. I don't even see
the laptop from hell, and it just won't be investigated by anybody. So the Trump legal team at odds with itself about what is going on. And what we are very rapidly learning is this is very, very bad. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at David Pakman Show. Don't forget that the best way to support the David Pakman Show is by becoming a member, which gives you access to the daily bonus show, the regular show with no commercials. You also get access to our entire archive of every episode dating back a really long time and plenty of other awesome membership perks. Go to joinpakman.com and use the coupon code BETTER21 for a huge discount. Joinpakman.com. Today, we're going to be speaking with Tim Miller, who's a writer and political consultant, the author of Why We Did It, a travelogue from the Republican road to hell. And his show is also available on Snapchat and is called Not My Party. Tim, great having you on. I really appreciate it.
David, I've seen you on the YouTube's been feeding you to me. So
oh, that's good. That's shocking.
This was meant to be. This was meant to be.
Usually right-wing stuff is fed to left-wingers, but I like to see the opposite happening a little bit. So, I mean, okay, just to kind of orient our audience.
Sure.
You are not on the Trump train, for lack of a better term, but I think it would be interesting to hear about when did you start to think that the Republican Party was going in a direction that you didn't like, that didn't make sense to your values?
Yeah. Well, this is, you're hitting at the regrets part of the book. The why we did it, we is an important word there because I'm included in we, even though I bailed on Trump at the minute he went down that escalator, bailed on the idea that I would support him. But as I look back on it, one of my first jobs in politics is I was the Iowa spokesperson for John McCain during the 2008 primary. And so I was obviously the leadoff kickoff, the caucus state. So it was a very important kind of role. I was excited about the role. And the types of people that were showing up to the John McCain town halls that we would have, and the kind of questions that he was getting over and over about their concerns about the invasion at the southern border and, globalists and the NAFTA superhighway. This was a conspiracy theory back at the time that never came to pass. I don't know if you noticed, we never did get that NAFTA superhighway, but right. These folks would come. And I started to get a sense that, oh man, like maybe the people that make up this party, have a set of values that are separate from mine. Then obviously McCain goes on to pick Sarah Palin. The Palin rallies were very much a proto example of these Trump rallies,
yep.
right? Of people shouting about Barack Hussein Obama and being a Muslim. And so, I kind of rationalized that and justified it because I still like John McCain and still believed in his political program, which was quite different than Donald Trump's political program. And I was ambitious, and wanted to continue to be successful in my career. And so I think that using a few different rationalizations, I kind of blocked out the fact that in retrospect, I really saw this all coming in 2007.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is there's this viral moment where at some event, I don't remember where it was, this woman asks John McCain, not even really asks, just sort of says I think Obama's a Muslim. And McCain says, no, he's not. He's an American and he's just someone with whom I have political differences. So that was sort of the type of signal you're talking about here.
For sure. And it helped me justify staying along with John McCain, right? There is sometimes people on the left want to be like, the party was always corrupted. It was always racist. It was always horrible. And it's like, well, there were elements that is true, right? But also leadership does matter. And having somebody at the top of the ticket who would say, no, ma'am, that is not true. Having someone at the top of the ticket during McCain's concession speech, he was graceful. He was getting booed when he said, we all need to unite behind our new president and give us our support. He gets booed by the crowd. So you can see this tension, right, between somebody who's trying to be a leader and a statesman who has some conservative values and a reactionary political base that's looking for someone to feed their grievance. The base got what they wanted, about 8 years later.
So what were the issues that to you are the important political issues that make you or made you a Republican? Like, is it taxation? Is it regulation? Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, I hate to be a cliche, but I was always one of these people who was kind of socially liberal. Though the word pro-life is getting mangled these days. What does that mean? Like, I believe there should be some restrictions on abortion. I don't know. My abortion position might be closer to Bill Clinton in 1992 than the current pro-life position. But besides that, I was pretty socially liberal. And yeah, I think the government a lot of times gets in the way of economic growth, of prosperity in our society. I'm obviously a capitalist. I think that America as a force can play a force for good in the world. I think this is frankly more of a Joe Biden point of view these days than it is a Donald Trump point of view. But I do believe in American power and influence overseas. I believe that America was a shining city on the hill where we should be welcoming people from throughout the world and that they can have their opportunity to take the blessings of the country, right? Like that was like a core Republican view as I was growing up, right, in the 80s and 90s, right? Reagan and Bush were very liberal on immigration, and they spoke to American greatness and believing in the American experiment. A lot of times I look at the left and say, oh, they're down talking America. They want to change what is good about the country. And so that is kind of what had me falling on the Republican side, despite the fact that I obviously had disagreements with parts of the nativist wing of the party on immigration. I'm gay. We haven't talked about that. Obviously on gay marriage and those issues I disagreed. And I came to disagree with the more extreme, views even on economic issues that were that the Tea Party, and the, shutting down the government, we can never raise taxes on anyone making over 400,000, or some of these extreme economic views I've sort of come around to the center on.
So it seems clear that now there are lots of folks who are sincerely Trump supporters, and then there are some folks on the Republican side who are overtly anti-Trump. And then there's sort of like the suspicion, which I think we've learned is true, that there are people who are kind of publicly Trump supporters, but really privately they are not. Can you talk about, like, early when it became clear Trump was becoming the nominee? What was your experience of those kind of three groups? And maybe the third one is really the most interesting, the ones who publicly are still defending him, but privately rather did not like him.
Yeah, the third group I think is the most interesting group, and that's who the book focuses on, right? I sort of hated all the Never Trumper books that wanted to make us seem like the heroes. To me, I didn't feel like we were heroes. Trump was manifestly unfit and corrupt and dangerous and racist, and it's like I did the obvious thing, in my opinion. The genuine Trump supporters, I think there's an interesting book to be written about them, right? I think that this is a real streak within our country right now. I saw that up close. We talked about it, these Iowa events, people who are genuinely nativists, genuinely protectionist, want to change kind of this, the way that, the post-World War II kind of American, setup of America's role in the world. The third group, though, is the one who agrees with me on everything, but basically wanted to continue on with their political career. Or maybe they don't agree with me on everything, right? I think that the Liz Cheney, Elise Stefanik is a good example of this, right? Liz Cheney is far more conservative than me. On social issues, on foreign policy even. Elise Stefanik and I worked together. She's one of the chapters in the book. She and I were rhino squish moderate Republicans, right? She believes climate change is real. She believes in gay marriage. She, wanted a liberal immigration policy. But, she also believed in lower taxes and a strong America overseas. Well, Elise Stefanik is now the one who is rising within the party and not Liz Cheney, because she is willing to go along with the cult and go along with the lies, and Liz Cheney wasn't. So in that third group, what shocked me, it did not shock me that Trump took over the party. Like I said, in 2007, I got a hint that something like this could happen. What shocked me was just to a person, how almost everyone I had worked with ended up going along with it. And I would have these dinners and these breakfasts, these tortured drinks where people would explain, all of their rationales. And so what I tried to explore in the book is all these different rationales, the ones that are ridiculous, the ones that are mockable, the ones that are kind of in the ballpark of defensible, and try to adjudicate how it was that these people, I think, who are the central villains, essentially, of the book and of our time, came to decide to do what they did. Because Trump couldn't have gotten power just with the true believers, right? Like, there aren't enough of them. He had to win over that third group.
Right. Who strikes you as a sort of faking it type Republican right now, of the people that are kind of in the public eye defending Trump?
Well, most of them. Kevin McCarthy and Elise. I guess I just talked about Elise, but Kevin McCarthy. So I write in the book about Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham and he supported Jeb. I was Jeb's communications director. We spent a lot of time together. He would call me all the time ranting about Donald Trump, how much he hated him. Like one night I couldn't get away from him because he was drinking all this Chardonnay, ranting about how Trump is a racist and a bigot. So is he faking it now? Or I don't know if faking it is the right word. I think that he's come around to believing that the thing that he cares about the most is access to power, and that he can deal with Trump's flaws in exchange for what he thinks he's getting, which is influence, access to power. So I don't know if he's faking it so much as his calculation has changed. But I think most of the political strategists and class, which is what I talk about, are, at some level, not. Would be if they all, let's just put it this way. Pretty much everybody in the establishment wing of the Republican Party, if they could snap their fingers and have a magic genie appear and say Donald Trump is just going to disappear from the face of the planet and Ron DeSantis is going to take over the party, they all would snap their fingers in a second.
So let me talk about that. Yeah, that was going to be my next question in terms of like, what's the path out of this? Because the interesting thing about you mentioning DeSantis is when I think about John McCain and Mitt Romney, DeSantis seems way more like Trump than like any of them. So I'm kind of interested in the path out of this Trumpist nightmare on the Republican side. Does it have to be someone like DeSantis, who I almost see as like a slightly less incompetent version of Trump, but close to as dangerous? Is that just by necessity what it has to be? Or is there a way to get back to someone like a Mitt Romney who seems so comparatively benign right now?
Yeah. There's no path back to the benign. I mean, at least in the short term. Here's the thing. Donald Trump gave the people, this is a bottom-up problem, not a top-down problem. And the book is about people's moral sacrifices, right? And how they went along with somebody that was clownishly corrupt, right?
Yeah.
Just for their own power. So that part, they're complicit. But what is the core issue here is that what voters want is someone that's going to channel their grievance and their rage and their hate for the left, for elites, for the media, for, whatever, people who are expressing their gender identity in different ways, right? Like their hatred for whoever that is, they want someone to channel that. That's what they care about, not policies, right? This is the difference between the Dem base and the Republican base. Like there may be some people on the Dem base who have extreme views, but they have actual policies that they want to see enacted. The Republican base just wants somebody to channel their grievance. And so, okay, if that's what these voters want, they're not turning back to anyone like Mitt Romney after Donald Trump gave them what they could have. Like for a while, they were like, oh, I'll hold my nose for John McCain because this is the best we can do. We need somebody like this to win. Now they have come to realize, no, we can win with someone that shares our cruelty and our hatred. And so why would we go back to Mitt Romney, right? Like they never would. And so, no, I think that there's a possible chance for somebody who is like a Boris Johnson type. I wouldn't call that benign. I think that is our best hope, right? That somebody who can fake the grievance stuff, and throw people a little bit of red meat, with some cultural resentments, which Boris was good at. But like on the policy side of things was basically, kind of like a center right nationalist, not exactly the kind of person I would want, not like a classically liberal conservative. But I think it's possible that someone like that could appear. But no, the DeSantis mold is the way the party is going for sure. Or maybe even worse, honestly, maybe even Tucker or something to that effect.
Well, in looking at some of these recent Trump rallies and CPAC, what gets the most applause is the overtly homophobic and transphobic stuff. Like in watching CPAC, the crowd was kind of dead until Ted Cruz ridiculed pronouns, and I don't remember who it was, talked about trans women in sports. Like the applause lines were the homophobic, transphobic applause lines. Trump now tells the story about the weightlifting and the swimmer. It's these every single rally, it's the same stories. Is that surprising to see that kind of resurface?
I wouldn't say so. It's disappointing because, look, we all play these games. Like in my head, I felt like the gay rights march was going forward, and those of us on the pro-gay rights side were winning. And so, that it wasn't. By the time I really came into politics, like the writing was on the wall, right? Like the march to progress was marching forward, and thank you to all the people that did that fight before we got there. But we should have known that there'd be backsliding, right? These people, their hatreds, their cruelty, they didn't go away. You know, a lot of times the Republicans get caricatured as like being so stupid that they don't know what they're doing. They're strategic. They're tactical. If you listen to focus groups of Republican voters, they didn't change their mind on gay marriage. They were just like, well, this is a loser for us, right? Like, it's not worth fighting it right now, right? It's a political loser. We're going to go win on other issues. That's why they moved on to the trans stuff, right? Now, with what DeSantis is doing in the schools with Don't Say Gay, the pronouns, the trans sports, they're emboldened again. They're like, wait a minute, no, this can be a winner. We can bring we can otherize them and attack them, and that can be a political winner for us again. So we're going to do that. And so while I think the good-natured side of me was hoping that this stuff was passed, I don't think it should be surprising, because it's not like these people died. They're all still here. All the people that still did, that were for anti-gay marriage initiatives in 2004, most of them are still around, right? So, it's not as if all of their views changed. They just made a political calculation.
So the Snapchat show, Not My Party, I don't even understand Snapchat. Like, I'm on TikTok. TikTok I get, and we're doing well on TikTok. My sister is on Snapchat. She says it's really like the hub for people who are a little bit younger than me.
Yeah.
How did this develop?
Well, basically, so Snapchat had these shows, and it's mostly for 13 to 24-year-olds, right, who are on it, essentially. And they had like Ben Shapiro, and they had like super left stuff. Maybe like you're not on there, but some of your competitors out there in the left space, right?
The actual socialists, not like me.
The actual socialists. So the Snapchat folks came to me and they're like, we need like somebody in the middle, like besides Charlie Kirk and AOC, right? Like, we need to serve this audience, because there are a lot of teens out there still kind of working their way through their political identity. And so I try to offer a show once a week, post on Thursdays on Snapchat. It's just 4 minutes. It's fun. It's fast. And it's like, hey, here's a look at the news. And here's a look at what's happening in politics. We talked about the student loan thing, and I hate to say balanced, because I'm not trying to do this fake centrist, on the one hand, on the other hand thing. But it's like, we're heterodox, right? Like, every once in a while, I still agree with a Republican on something, right? But I'm not MAGA. I'm not going to tell you exactly what you want to hear every week. And so I hear a lot from kids in college who appreciate the show, because they're like, man, on campus, everyone is either in the K hive, or a social justice warrior, or a MAGA. And I don't fit that. And I think that a lot of people feel that way. And so they're trying to navigate through their views. And so I think that the fact that I've been cast out from the Republican Party gives me a chance to have the freedom to just kind of tell people and give people an honest look at what's happening.
Well, I got to get on that Snapchat. I've got to figure out what's going on there.
Man, your show would do well.
I should really sample some clips on there. It's an interesting idea, actually. Tim's show is Not My Party on Snapchat. The book is Why We Did It, a travelogue from the Republican road to hell. We've been speaking with Tim Miller. Tim, thank you so much.
David, thanks, brother.
If you value what we do at The David Pakman Show, remember to support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show, where you can get access to behind-the-scenes videos, the daily bonus show, the commercial-free daily show, as well as special discounts on merch, including hats, hoodies, mugs, and t-shirts. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. This is one of my favorite stories of the year. It's up there with when Alex Jones attacked me. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, also known to many of us as Mike Pillow or simply Pillow, spent hours on our Facebook page attacking me in comments and arguing with many of you. Viewers wrote to me and said, David, Pillow is in the comments on your YouTube channel, and he's attacking you, and he's attacking us, and he's calling people bots. You have to see this. And I said, wait, Pillow is worth $300 million. He's running a pillow business, which now sells coffee, and it sells slippers and bathrobes and all. There's no way that this guy is in my Facebook comments attacking me and my viewers, is there? And indeed there is. You might remember I interviewed this Republican candidate, Mike Cargile, not long ago. And he said that there's satanic people and there's machines that are bad, elections and all this different stuff. And guy's completely unhinged. And a lot of the stuff MyPillow agrees with. Check out these comments. And again, this is a full-grown man worth $300 million, and this is how he is spending hours. Mike Lindell, yes, David, I believe you need prayer. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate your concern. MyPillow showing up and saying, I posted evidence of the voter fraud. We have to get rid of the machines.
Over 54 countries have now been taken by the machines.
Yeah. MyPillow continuing and attacking people and attacking machines, saying we need to get rid of the voting machines. California has 2.8 million more people on their voter rolls than people that can vote. Of course, that's completely untrue. There is no place, no state that has more voters than more people registered than actual legal voters. Doesn't exist. Then Mike Lindell started calling people bots. He called Julia bot. He called Blaken a paid bot. He said to Norm, we need to get rid of the voting machines and computers running our elections.
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
He called Susie a paid bot. He said to me, David, why don't you check out the evidence? Well, I would love to. When I interviewed him, I told him to send me the evidence after his symposium. He never did. Mike Cargile said he would send me the evidence. He never did. Mike focusing in on a guy named Jay and said, I just posted evidence in this feed. We have to get rid of the machines. I see you are a paid bot. What a shame. Mike Lindell said to Nancy, so sad you are a paid bot. He called Tanya a paid bot. He called John another paid bot. He said that Pizza is a paid bot. He said Chris is a paid bot. He said Ruth is a paid bot. He called Otto a paid bot. And to Sture, he called him a bot with two T's, which I have to tell you, that's like a double bot of some kind. Then MyPillow, guys, remember, this is an adult worth $300 million. He started posting a link to some kind of frank speech interview with a guy named Clint Curtis, who again is one of these whistleblowers who presents no evidence whatsoever. He then posted a link about PCAPs and Dennis Montgomery, which doesn't actually provide any evidence of any voter fraud whatsoever. He then posted a link to his Moment of Truth Summit, which no one watched. And then maybe most importantly, Pillow saying, David, why don't you have me on your horrible show? To which I say, Pillow, you're welcome anytime, sir. He's been on before. I asked him for the evidence. He didn't send it. He now seems to be saying he's willing to be back on. We are trying to get him back on. And maybe now he will give me the evidence. Just a couple other posts. He then posted a link to some video called Inside the Machines.
Over 54 countries have now been taken by the machines.
Posting over a period of multiple hours, posting that link many, many times. Isn't this the strangest thing that we've ever seen happen? Like when Alex Jones attacked me.
Thank your lucky stars every day you're not Dave Pacman.
Yeah.
That is a frickin' predator right there.
Right. When Alex Jones attacked me, he did it on his own show, right? So he did it for content. He got something out of it. Maybe at the end of his attack on me, Alex Jones sold, some kind of supplement or something like that. Pillow is just mixing it up in the Facebook comments with our own viewers. I don't see what he could possibly have to gain from this. This makes me think he's a true believer. Let me put it that way. So there it is. And we welcome Pillow back on the program absolutely anytime. And hopefully that'll be soon. The next layer in the fake Elector scam is now pushing towards criminality. You have to see this. This is unbelievable. Newly obtained surveillance video shows fake Trump Elector escorted operatives into Georgia County's elections office before the voting machine breach. Let's reset the story. The fake Elector scam. The fake Elector scam was where there were states won by Joe Biden in November of 2020. Yes, nearly 2 years ago. They're still going. nearly 2 years ago, in November of 2020, Joe Biden won certain states like Georgia and Arizona. And Republicans came up with the idea of just sending different electors to say, we cast our ballot, we cast our electoral votes for Donald Trump, even though Trump didn't win. They would claim that he did. We now have footage of a Republican county official in Georgia, who was one of these fake electors, escorting two operatives working with an attorney for Trump into the county's election offices on the same day that a voting system there was breached. Understand that these people breached election systems, okay? In the surveillance video obtained by CNN, Kathy Latham, a former Republican chairwoman of Coffee County, under criminal investigation for posing as a fake elector in 2020, escorted a team of pro-Trump operatives to the election offices on January 7, 2021. That's the same day that the voting system there was breached. They are the ones breaching the systems. They are the ones attempting the fraud. Here is a report from CNN.
Newly obtained video to CNN shows a former Georgia Republican county official escorting two operatives hired by an attorney for former President Trump into the county's election offices on the same day a voting system there was illegally breached.
Wow.
Drew Griffin has the details. Drew.
What an incredible coincidence, right?
Breaches of these voting machines, guys, in swing states are under investigation across the country. This one happened in Coffee County, Georgia, rural county. CNN obtained surveillance video at one of the offices where the voting machines were breached. And all this at the behest of one of Donald Trump's attorneys. I want to show you right now. This is Kathy Latham we're showing you. She's the former chairwoman of Coffee County GOP. Already under investigation, this woman is, for posing as one of those fake electors who signed documents that declared Donald Trump was the winner of the 2020 election. Latham can be seen here escorting a team of pro-Trump operatives into the Coffee County Elections Office, including an IT specialist who was working with Trump attorney Sidney Powell. This all happens on the same day the vote.
Can you imagine? They have so many conspiracy theories. They were the ones conspiring. Look at this.
Voting system in that office was illegally breached. January 7th, 2021, the day after the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Text messages, emails, and witness testimony from a civil lawsuit against Georgia election officials have connected Latham, that woman, to the plan to give the group access to the elections office. About a week before this voting machine breach, that same woman, Latham, testified before the Georgia state legislature, along with Rudy Giuliani, talking all about voter machine irregularities in Coffee County. Latham's attorney told CNN.
Seems some of the irregularities were Latham herself giving people who shouldn't have access to the voting systems access to the voting systems. Is anybody ever going to jail for trying to steal the 2020 election for Trump? While they were screaming election fraud, mail-in ballot fraud, Democratic fraud for months, they tried to steal it. They did it in this particular case in broad daylight. If you didn't see the video, it's the middle of the day when they show up. And I'm sure that some of them would say, we had to do this stuff because the Democrats cheated. The Democrats were cheating so bad that we had to do it this way. But you all in my audience didn't fall for it when Trump started with this stuff late spring, early summer 2020. When Trump started saying they're going to rig it this way, they're going to rig it that way, it's all insecure. Many of you, dozens and dozens of you wrote to me and said, David, allegations or confessions with these people. Trump's saying he's going to try to steal it. That's what Trump is saying. And of course, you were all completely correct. Incredible. People better start landing in prison for this. They really should. And we're going to follow that. And as charges develop, and hopefully they will, we will tell you whether people are actually being held accountable. We have a voicemail number. That number is 219-2-DAVID-P. Many of you might have heard about Trump derangement syndrome. Well, a caller called in who believes that there is Biden derangement syndrome going on down in Texas where he lives. Take a listen to this.
Hi, David. This is Chris down in Texas.
Yeah.
And I noticed in my town I see F. Biden bumper stickers, F. Biden stickers on the gas pumps, signs in yards, and it seems like there's a lot of Biden derangement syndrome down here.
I would say
just
so.
Doesn't really get talked about. And then thinking about Barack Obama, how they were so obsessed with what suit he wore and the birtherism. Seems like there's been a lot of derangement syndrome on their side for quite a long time.
Of course there has. And they just love to say, oh, Trump derangement syndrome. You know, I was not long ago, I was in, well, I guess, I don't know if it's considered upstate New York or not. I know that, you know, in the city, what's considered upstate is different, but in the Hudson Valley area. And Hudson, New York itself is quite liberal, and it's become kind of like a, you know, a place where people from the city drive up and hang out for the weekend, great restaurants and, you know, furniture shops and all of it. But in the small towns surrounding Hudson, as we were driving in, there were a shocking number of places selling Biden paraphernalia, anti-Biden, I should say, you know, FJB, Let's Go Brandon, weird like voodoo type dolls of Joe Biden and stuff like that. So if that's going on in New York State, and I know that the further you get from the city, the more right wing New York State gets, but I can only imagine what's going on in Texas. And yes, there is quite a bit of derangement. On today's bonus show, we are going to talk about the new UK Prime Minister, Liz Truss. It's happening. It has happened. And what happens now with the relationship with the United States? A New Mexico official has been ousted for participating in the January 6th insurrection. That's good news. We'll tell you the details. And Senator Ted Cruz, one of the most disgusting members of the U.S. Senate, wants to block student loan forgiveness. What's the argument? Well, we'll tell you on the bonus show. All of those stories and more when producer Pat joins me on the bonus show. You can sign up today at joinpacman.com. If you're waiting for that sweet, sweet discount for a membership, get on my newsletter, because on September 19th, 9/19, we are doing a 19 themed membership special. It's going to be nuts. Our lawyer, accountant, and entire staff is begging me with tears in their eyes, David, sir, don't do this discount. But I am committed to doing it. And you can be notified on September 19th of this great opportunity to become a member simply by getting on my newsletter at davidpacman.com. I'll see you on the bonus show today if you are already a member. Otherwise, we'll be back tomorrow with a brand new show.